Mortenax banner blade banner from the HSR is going to be end very soon, and by the time this video is released, I guess you might not even see him anymore, or you just don't like missed your chance to get him. Now the thing is that he was actually released back in like 2 or 3 weeks ago. He just created a very much a rile up into this HSR community because just the amount of buff and also debuff he is actually providing towards the team member is not even a joke, and he is also giving a hard competition towards the characters who actually have the dedicated role, especially the harmony and also debuff role. Now this Nihility class has been facing the identity crisis since the HSR release in back in first anniversary of the HSR. Before the HSR release, Nihility was none other than a dot character which is considered as a damage over time, where we do have the Black Swan and also the Kafka and other 4-star dot characters. But after that, Nihility just becomes some of those like a DPS character, especially HSR is a crit rate and crit damage, just despite being having a Nihility tag on her. But she's also very much of a get benefited from the debuff buff if any of the team member are actually proccing that towards the enemy. Now after the Acheron, the Nihility take another path which is the support and also kind of like a debuff capability on their kit. Especially if I just give you a closest example, it could be none other than the Cypher, which comes from the amorphous region, and she's also very much of a good one because if you just somehow able to get her onto the team, she can provide you 40% damage vulnerability without having meet any kind of like a restriction. If I just give you a closest example, the character who also do the same thing, which is none other than the Tribi, is still to this day considered one of those like a top tier harmony character just by having on your team, because she can give you 24% respect, 36% damage vulnerability, where when the enemies will take this kind of damage, they will get more 36% damage when they have this kind of like a vulnerability debuff on their body. Now this TB really required to follow up her damage to maximize her stack to 36%, but when it comes to the Cypher, she does not even require this kind of like a restriction. All you have to do is just put her onto the theme, and that's the simple thing that all you have to do. You will just get warp around like a 40% damage vulnerability without having meeting any kind of like a restriction. Other than that, whenever your team member is doing the damage, she just will accumulate some of this like a point. If some of her point are actually generating a quite good number of it, she can deal a 3 target damage just like any of this like a destruction character. She will be just doing huge amount of 2 damage, which is does not even require to have the crit rate and crit damage. So after like a Cypher, the Nihility is somewhat kind of like a making a path to themselves with a buff and also debuff. They are kind of like a master of all and also jack of all at the same time, which trend already been followed by the Blade as well as Blade. This is not even I'm talking about the old Blade, I'm talking about the new Blade, which is the Mortenax Blade in the first half his name. So this is kind of like a Avakan version of his base version, and he is damn totally breaking the meta, especially the amount of buff and also debuff he's providing is actually no joke. Now the thing about this, his buff and debuff capability, which I'm going to talk about in this video, and also the main topic of this video is going to be should you even pull for him, since the banner is going to be end very soon. And if you do have good amount of pull, and if you are actually waiting for another character, especially the next character going to be Fate Collab second part, and also our another most awarded character Himeko's Avakan version, or you can say the Nova version. So if you are actually accumulating those kind of pulls for them and somewhat not even know that what kind of blade is actually providing to your teammate, I guess this video is going to be very much helpful for you. So in this video I'm going to segment to kind of like a 3-part. First part is going to be the should you even pull for him, and second part is going to be the how much of a F2P he is, and third part is going to be why you should not even pull for him. So let's move on to the first part. The first part is going to be should you even pull for him. In my opinion, this is actually yes, because according to the Pridewin is very much of a popular website when it comes to covering this kind of like a tier list and also other things. They already declared him as a must pull alongside with other must pull characters such as the Sirene and also the our Trivi characters. So if you don't even have him on your team, I guess you are losing so much value. The first thing is that he actually provides a lots of defense rate such as the 30% and also vulnerability, which is a specialty for the Trivi and also the Cypher. This guy is actually providing 50% vulnerability, which is even higher than the Cypher, which is a 10% higher, and also compared to the Trivi, which is not even a 10%, which is a 14% higher. That's how much of a powerful he is actually into this current moment. And second time is going to be team damage bonus is going to be increased 50%, which is also also going to be added huge amount of value if you're any of those like a dual DPS, and also if you have another sub DPS who can actually do a pretty decent amount of damage. For the third point, he's actually very much very specialized for the nihility characters. Suppose if you do have a Acheron on your blade team, which is going to be the best resort into this current moment, but we don't even have any idea that what kind of like another nihility character going to be best resort for him. But up to until to this now, the Acheron and also another character which is Asheville is going to be very much of a greatly benefited by just having him on their team. Now if you do have the nihility on your team, this guy will actually going to be increase your 75% ultimate damage. Just think about it, this is the ultimate damage, and this is only going to be restricted only for the nihility characters. So another thing he's actually going to be provided by himself, not going to be teammates, which is a 20% crit rate and also 60% crit damage, which is also going to be helpful to make him a sub DPS character rather than a fully support capability. So can you even guess it that how much of a powerful and how much of a great thing he's actually providing to himself and also providing to the whole of our teammates. And on top of that, he's not even going to be required that much of a constellation, but if you have a multiple constellation, he's actually very good. Especially his E1 is not even a joke, 20% respan, man. Where am I going to stop it? He's also going to give you a near to 20% respan, man, similar to our TV. Another point is that if you just have him into E2, he is actually going to give you almost like a 105% ultimate damage without having any kind of worry. And whenever your teammate are doing the ultimate, he is actually going to proc his follow-up attack without having meeting the requirement of a 9 stack or 7 stack. And besides, his stack will also going to be decreased from 9 to 7. So this is actually very much of a consistent damage. But having this like a E0 and this kind of like a capability, which is a 30% defense rate, 50% vulnerability, team damage bonus 50%, and also ultimate damage nihility ally 75%, self crit rate, crit damage buff is actually no joke. This huge amount of value that you could just totally get him. So that's all for this like should you even pull for him. Let's move on to how much of a F2P he is. As I already mentioned before, the amount of buff he is actually providing, which is E0, is totally insane. But the thing about is his signature weapon does not even add that much of a value, rather than just giving you a good amount of like a 30% crit damage all over the teammate. Now crit damage can be actually applicable by your stats and also other things, but in here the amount of like a defense and also vulnerability that you are going to be provided towards the teammate, in that time you are also going to be deal more damage. You don't even have to think about the crit damage. Yes, crit damage is actually helpful for your actually DPS character, but when it comes to the dealing the huge damage, you have to do or break the enemy's toughness bar and also other things to make the damage much more higher than ever. So in my opinion, he's actually very F2P and he can totally works on with your any of those like a forest and nihility characters. And another options, if you do have the Harta 5-star Lightcone, this guy is also going to be slapped without any kind of problem. So that's how much of a F2P. Besides, I already mentioned before, you don't even have to have him Eidolons or you can say the constellation, but if you have him, he's also actually going to give you much more value than ever. And the third point, which is none other than why you should not totally pull for him. First point is going to be why you should not. As I already mentioned before in my previous point, you already been totally sold out that how much of a powerful he is. But the main thing is that if you're already playing this game not by meta perspective, but by pool whatever you like, I guess you totally skip him and totally invest your all of those like a pool for the next upcoming character, which is the Himeko and also our like a Fate Part 2 collab. Other than that, I have no idea that why I'm going to convince you that why he's actually not going to be a must pull. He's actually a must pull character according to each and every theory crafter and also each and every meta defining things. He can make any DPS powerful, even self damage is not even joke. That's the main thing that you have to know. So I guess that's all for this video. I know that the video is actually pretty much of a small one. I'm not even going to give you a little bit of a details because most of the people would not even like a long video. So in here I'm just giving you a little bit of a heads up that why you should not even pull for him. So after this video, I guess you can even make totally a fine decision that should even pull for him or not. That's all for it. If you like it, leave a like. See you on the next video. Peace.